I bet not many of you thought I would celebrate this day, so yeah, happy Piccolo Day! So as of the release of this video, it has already been a few days since a special date when we, as Dragon Ball fans, celebrated a beloved character who is, subjectively, one of the favourites of the author himself. That's right, it's a Piccolo Day video. Oh, you thought we were going to be talking about Goku? Yeah. We also know that it's Goku Day as well, but let's be honest, every day in Dragon Ball is Goku Day, really. But we really should give some more love to our favourite Namekian, and now Toriyama's favourite character in Dragon Ball. And true, this day has been established since King Piccolo took control over the Earth in the actual Dragon Ball series. But in terms of details, I think it's only fair that he will be the main hero of today's discussion, as we have talked about his son in great detail on many occasions. But he won't be completely absent. After all, it's hard to talk about one Piccolo without the other one. Also, as a fun little tidbit, whilst May the 9th is in the original, the dubbed version has the day on May the 13th for some bizarre reason. Is it meant to be scary, unlucky number to make King Piccolo even more evil? Yeah, not really. I mean, ask Cav, his birth date's the 13th. And yes, King Piccolo, in typical fashion for his megalomania, decided to celebrate his holiday by destroying a sector of Earth chosen in a lottery. The poor guy, though, was only able to celebrate it once, with the planned destruction of Sector 28. Of course, Goku stopped him in his tracks because King Piccolo's a baddie in Dragon Ball, and baddies in Dragon Ball are stopped or befriended. And King Piccolo chose the former. Well, come on, Goku, surely you could have waited a little bit. You didn't respect Piccolo's holiday. Also, May the 9th is the birthday of both Drum and Piccolo Jr. So, Drum was born and then deceased then. But yeah, let's exercise our memory and remind everyone of the brief history of Piccolo Sr. As you probably know, he was created 300 years before the original Dragon Ball series started, so about the age 450, when the nameless Namekian was denied the rank of Guardian, due to the evil within him. He worked so hard that he was able to perform a fission that had resulted in the creation of two beings, so that means he could become the Guardian of Earth. This became Kami and Piccolo. But what's even more interesting is that allegedly, Piccolo can be translated as different world in Namekian. It's a great coincidence that our word for a type of flute means something in an alien language. Oh well, that's Toriyama for you. Conveniences. Of course, whilst Kami was able to enjoy his fancy schmancy new job in the lap of luxury being the god of Earth, King Piccolo was running rampant down below, terrorizing people on Earth using his original demonic spawns that were killed by the pupils of Master Mutaito. Now it kind of makes you wonder, if Kami was meant to be the guardian of Earth, why wasn't he guarding it? I mean, I suppose, I don't know, it's confusing. In the end, the evil Namekian decided to step in, leaving only Roshi and Shen as the survivors. King Piccolo was able to defeat the old master of Mutaito, bringing him a lot of shame and causing Shen to leave. Roshi, however, stuck it out, hid in the mountains, never losing faith in his mentor. It took several years to return back to health. Now, as you can imagine, King Piccolo and his Namekian children used all that time to cause untold destruction and mayhem. In the manga, Shen reunites with the two of them in the final confrontation, where they use the evil containment wave, or the Mafuba, to trap him inside the electric rice cooker. In the anime, it's slightly different. It's just Mutaito and Roshi, fighting on the ruins of an almost wiped out world. Now, I think actually that change of not having Shen in there in the anime, I think that's kind of a shame, because it would have actually made the animosity between Shen and Roshi all the more tragic in anime form, but they decided to skip that there, maybe for the sake of convenience and making it into a flashback sort of thing. But I get it, it's just maybe a missed opportunity there. So yeah, the old master dies in the anime in the process, and Roshi is the one to toss the cooker into Isuri's lake, where it was sealed. And obviously the entire area gets corrupted because of the evil within the rice cooker. It's also worth noting that this was the location of his throne. So maybe not the brightest idea here, Roshi, to seal him where his throne is, maybe just the other side of the world. Or do what Goku did and send it to the moon! And then, after the world had been rebuilt, people gradually started to forget about the Demon King Piccolo, as he only survived in legend and the memories of Roshi, Shen, and Kami. That is until Emperor Pilaf showed up! Now, most of you probably know the rest of the story. King Piccolo subjugates Pilaf and sends assassins, his two new sons, Piano and Tambourine, after the finalists of the World Martial Arts Tournament to eliminate everybody capable of learning the evil containment wave and possibly sealing him away again. He does manage to defeat Goku, thinking that he had killed them, and both Roshi and Chaozu lose their lives to the tyrant, who not only wishes for his youth, but also destroys the dragons so that no one can make any wishes on them ever again. Basically, he inspired Kaiba in the original to tear up that original Blue Eyes White Dragon. He then overthrows King Furry, becomes the ruler of Earth, and almost kills Ten Shinhan, who is saved by a much stronger Goku because he drank some water, getting his boost from that, and the journey beyond. Some people think that technically that was actually Goku's first ever Zenkai, who literally puts a hole through his chest, and there you go. In his dying moment, Piccolo Sr. uses his Poco Pen ability and spits out an egg which contains, obviously, Piccolo Jr. Whilst this is the formal end of the Demon King, his legacy is still felt throughout the series, mainly due to the fact that, well, his son's around, who originally really wanted to carry on his legacy and act out the revenge of his on Goku. Arguably, King Piccolo is the first serious villain. I think this is actually kind of true because the King Piccolo saga to me feels like a template for future Dragon Ball Z sagas. It just felt more like the show it would then go on to be and why it became such a global phenomena. It's like Toriyama was trying to figure out what he was going to be doing next and how he was going to evolve the story as the villains got more powerful, bigger, stronger, and key projectiles would actually become a major factor, and then eventually the only thing that really mattered. Now we kind of clamor for more simple martial arts stuff. You might think that the Red Ribbon Army did a lot of seriously bad stuff and that they could have been the first serious villains. They did a lot of terrible and brutal things. Commander Red's motivations were rather humorous though, and actually put him in between something like King Piccolo and Pilaf, so yeah. The Red Ribbons were a little bit goofy, and Goku did actually ultimately take them out relatively easily. And technically the only one that really gave him a lot of jip was Mercenary Tao, and he was a contractor of the Red Ribbon Army. Every big bad after this was using the older Piccolo as a blueprint of sorts. Yeah. Also, online comes again with the expansion of the lore, as the Namekians living near Usuri's lake were corrupted by the presence of King Piccolo's throne. Also, apparently, some of his demonic offspring survived. King Piccolo's influence resulted in the creation of the Poco Priests, who could summon monsters to help them in whatever they were choosing to need help from. As was, of course, in Dragon Ball Online, and we love him, Norak's Dark Namekians. So yes, King Piccolo's influence on that lake spawned Dark Namekians. And it's so ironic too, because water is the thing that keeps Namekians alive. It's what they need to survive. So yeah, it's almost just the birthplace of the next evolution of Namekians, the Dark Ones too. But it is worth noting though, in the actual game, Poke Priests are not evil, and they were in fact a playable subclass. So there were some good Namekians in there, of course, but you need to have good and evil. Also, speaking of power creep, King Piccolo, who was possibly the strongest being on the planet at the time of his rule, was nothing in comparison to everyone else, not even compared to Raditz. It's kind of insane to talk about it now, with all the godly powers that we've seen, but the weakest of the three Saiyans was almost 6 times stronger than the big bad of the original series. It just shows how the scale was being risen and risen ever more. And it kind of makes you think, well, okay, if King Piccolo did rule the world, he'd have only ruled it for maybe about like 8 years before Raditz showed up wondering where his brother was, finding out that he was dead, and then basically destroying the planet out of anger. Yeah. So much for that, Pickle. Considering how undefeatable he felt at the moment of his debut, this really puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Also, he is the main villain of a Wii game called Dragon Ball Revenge of King Piccolo. A very underrated game, I may remind you. It is definitely worth actually picking up. It's a beat-em-up game that tells the story of the beginning of the Red Ribbon Army saga all the way to the end of the King Piccolo saga. Nice and simple. And King Piccolo himself is an unlockable character, and not to mention, the intro absolutely slaps. I'll leave a link to it in the pinned comment because obviously I can't play it here. But one of the more interesting aspects of the early Namekian appearances in both the manga and the anime is that despite Kami and his evil half not having full and vivid memories of their origins on Namek because they've been on Earth for centuries, they do give us plenty of references to their culture and their alien heritage, especially in the anime, both in the manner of their language and the items that they use. Toriyama was asked about this in an interview he did for the World Guide of Daizenshu 4. Of course I didn't think that at all. The Saiyans were like that as well. When I thought up Goku's tail and the Ozaru, I didn't think Goku was an alien or anything. Piccolo either, because I thought that up when God came out. Mostly afterwards I thought it through so that it would be consistent. For example, there's the chair that Planet Nemec's eldest sat in. That was mostly the same as the chair that Piccolo Daimao, King Piccolo, had sat in when he first appeared. It was just missing the skulls. I see. Come to think of it, it did have the same shape, said the interviewer. Toriyama continues. I thought that since Piccolo Daimao surely still had some memories of when he was on Planet Namek, wouldn't he make that kind of chair? So I thought up the shapes of Planet Namek's buildings and spaceships using the design of Piccolo Daimao's chair as a base. When they went to Planet Namek, I was told that you'd fail if you went into space in a shonen manga. So when thinking up the background for Planet Namek, I tried to make it precisely consistent. Also, whilst Toriyama stated on some occasions that Piccolo Jr. is his favourite next to Goku, King Piccolo is definitely his favourite villain. He said that in the super interview he did for Daizenshuu 2. Yeah, I guess I like Piccolo the most after all, he says. Out of all the enemies, Demon King Piccolo is the one I like most. And even after that, I like Piccolo the most. I like Piccolo about the same as I like Goku. With Vegeta, well, I don't like him all that much, but he was extremely helpful to have around. For the recent stuff, it was fun drawing Mr. Satan. When I first brought him out, I didn't think that I would end up making Satan that important of a character. I thought it'd be just a one-shot character, but thinking up worthless gags is more enjoyable than doing the fight scenes. Also, earlier in the same interview, the author did note that the creative process that had brought him to create the character. And then at last, the Demon King Piccolo appeared. With all the villains up to that point, there was always something likable about them. Piccolo was born from me trying to create a truly bad guy. That period was the most interesting to draw. So yeah, as we said earlier, it was an earnest attempt to create Dragon Ball's first truly despicable and unredeemable character. While we know from other interviews that Toriyama likes a good redemption story, it seems that he needed Junior to fully realize a facsimile of Piccolo to turn good, whilst also keeping the original King Piccolo a true bad guy. Or at least Piccolo Jr. wasn't initially non-hostile. As you can see, King Piccolo is a very important character to the overall plot of Dragon Ball. I don't think it's an overstatement at all to say that without King Piccolo, everything that came after it, all of the sagas in Dragon Ball Z, could have been entirely different. The old Demon Namekian had to lay all the groundwork for Vegeta, Frieza, Cell, Boo, Beerus, what have you, and the others that are actually listed to be able to debut and kick major butt. And honestly, his own story is nothing to be ashamed of, as his introduction to the story is very effective. You notice it. It gives us a proper shock that results in Krillin's original death, and it pushing Goku to pretty extreme measures. That's why we ask you to celebrate his day. And don't forget about Piccolo Sr. either, just because he has since become overshadowed by his junior. And don't forget about Piccolo Day just because of Goku Day. We do hope that those of you less familiar with the character will gain a newfound respect for the character, and those of you who haven't thought about him in a long while will remember him with some nostalgia. As of now, we say, all hail King Piccolo! And we hope that he won't destroy our parts of the world, okay? Although the lottery might be rigged. I'll see you in the next video. Hopefully. Catch you later.